God isn't Christian, Buddhist, or New Age at all. God is love. Hey guys, it's John sitting here in the studio having a fabulous day. I hope you're having a fabulous day as well. I believe that God is beyond the walls of religion, beyond the glitter of the New Age. God is found in the heart of simple, fearless love, the space where each of us finds our truth, and no label has ever been able to define it. And every soul is simply home in that place of love. The labels, the definitions, the ideas that we have to set ourselves apart with divisions and divisive labels ends up taking us out of our human nature of simply being love. And it takes us away from loving unconditionally without the labels. Every human has a desire to belong. Over the course of time, they started defining and delineating to find a place where they had community, a place where they could feel like they fit in. And oftentimes this becomes a spiritual cage. We label ourselves to feel safe. We find a community that can accept us for who we are, but oftentimes those communities end up negating other communities. Every belief system began with good intentions, and the intention really was to make sense of the mysteries of the universe, to find out what God really is. But once we gave names to truth, we started mistaking the name for the experience. Us, I am. It became an us and them as opposed to an us and I am. Believers, non-believers, chosen, condemned. It just started creating more and more division and divisiveness. Many fall into the idea of needing to be right or fearing being wrong. And they lock into a label or a definition to fit into a place where they feel safe. Okay, if I believe this, I'll be okay. If I believe this, I'll be safe. Fear hides the need to belong. It literally says, okay, now I'm in this situation and I'm no longer feeling the need to belong. I have chosen to belong. Love doesn't need permission to exist. Love can be found with every person in the world, no matter what their belief system, no matter what their race is, no matter what their gender is, no matter what their sexual preference is. God is love, and love in any form is never wrong. But religions often structure. But it also offers division. Every doctrine began as someone's revelation, but became someone else's truth. Religions themselves are living someone else's spirituality. What was once probably a loving truth turned into a dogma. And the moment love is institutionalized, it becomes conditional. And the concept of even adding the word unconditional means that there's the concept that it could be conditional. But love is not conditional, love is pure. The New Age promises freedom and still repeats the same patterns. A lot of people who fled the churches found new temples of hierarchy in the New Age movements. Gurus replaced priests, downloads replaced scripture, and superiority crept back in. When spirituality becomes about status, the fifth dimensional, light coded, or ascended, it's just another label. Love doesn't belong to any of it. Love existed before religion, before the first text, and before the first temple, before the first channeler, before the first New Age guru who claims that you have to follow the history that he's created. The mystics of every age discovered the same truth. You don't find God through belief, you find God through being and living in the present. So ask yourself a question. When did I start mistaking my spiritual language for spiritual living? I'm using labels and definitions and the next level of ascension is this and that, all these things. When did you start mistaking spiritual language for simply being loving, simply living in the now? The original message of Yeshua and Buddha and many others, they said that the power is in you. They pointed inward, not upward. Yeshua said the kingdom of heaven is within you. And Buddha said, look within, thou art the Buddha. Rumi said, I looked for God and found only myself. They all spoke of a direct connection, not belief systems. They didn't talk about needing the method, the modality, the mantra, the doctrines, the dogmas. So why then did religion misunderstand the mystics? You see, institutions can't control people who think for themselves. And when you create hierarchies, structures, or labels, you're creating parameters. And those parameters are the things that you have to stay within. And institutions create those parameters. And probably unintentionally, they created control. Teachings of unity were replaced by systems of obedience. Follow me became follow the church. Be loved became believe correctly. There's a shared foundation beneath every path. When you do the studies and you read all the texts with the idea of only reading the loving parts, they all say the same thing. When you read the fearful parts, they all say something different. Compassion, forgiveness, truthfulness, and presence are universal virtues found in all of them. Where those were practiced, love is found, regardless of the label. And the same light shines through every stained glass window. Modern spirituality is rediscovering ancient simplicity. Meditation, mindfulness, heart centered living, they're not new, they're remembrance. They're coming back to the inner person. We're circling back to the oldest truth there is love. And when you start hearing these new age teachers start to say, you have to do this, you have to follow this path, you have to eat this diet, you have to do these things, they're not focused on love. They're focused on dogma and the creation of new dogma. And they're missing the fact that love is the path and that love is the core of every teaching when stripped of ego's fingerprints. Labels divide what love unites. The ego thrives on specialness and the need to feel chosen or saved or more awakened. And that's the ego's way of staying relevant in a spiritual disguise. Anytime you think you're more spiritual than somebody else, you've left love. Love doesn't compare, it includes. The illusion of spiritual superiority, is the illusion of love being in a hierarchical system, that you are more spiritual than someone else. Religious superiority says, my God is right. New Age superiority says, my vibration is higher. Both of them are versions of the same fear, the fear of equality with all that is, the fear of not being powerful, the fear of not being loved.
And now, a quick word from our sponsor. Coffee Time with John. This channel runs off coffee, so get your coffee and tea at johnsjoe.com.
How do you recognize this kind of separation disguised as enlightenment? If the teacher makes someone less than, it isn't truth. If it creates guilt or shame, it isn't love. Real awakening, and I don't believe we're asleep, but real awakening dissolves hierarchy. Real awareness dissolves hierarchy. It doesn't reinforce it. There's a power in inclusion. Imagine spirituality where the atheist, the priest, and the energy healer can sit at one table without defending their view or being mocked by someone else. How about being there in a moment where they all say, okay, that's your truth. I respect your truth. And I will let you live in your truth, but I won't mock you for your truth. That's what fearless love looks like in practice. Love is the great equalizer. It doesn't care what you call yourself. It asks only, are you present? Are you kind? And in that simplicity, the entire illusion of difference dissolves because you realize everything is love. It's very liberating to let go of labels. Who are you without your spiritual identity? Without being a Catholic or a light worker or an empath or a mystic? Who remains? Is what remains the core of love itself? Or is this the desire to be a label to feel that they're over someone else or they've gotten further ahead? Awareness itself is unconditional. It's eternal. It's free. Identity sneaks in through the back door when we leave organized religions and we cling to understanding that we can just simply be in the love. The soul doesn't need a brand. It needs authenticity. When you stop labeling yourself, you expand into infinite expression. Freedom through self-honesty. You admit where your beliefs still serve ego's comfort and you break free of them. Do I believe this is true or because it feels safe? That's a great question to ask yourself. Do I believe this is true or am I doing this simply to feel safe? And why don't I feel safe? Because fear has grabbed me. Fear has gripped me, and now I am blocked by my own fears. The paradox of no label spirituality means it doesn't mean it's rejecting tradition. It means it's not being imprisoned by it. You can attend Mass and practice Reiki or study quantum consciousness and still be label free if love, not identity, is the motive. Remember, the book of Matthew says you will know them by their fruit. I don't care what path you follow. The Bible also says, in my Father's house, there's many mansions. There's many ways to find God, but God is love. For a week, ask yourself this without any identifiers. I'm not a healer. I'm not a Christian. Just say I'm here. Watch how freeing it feels to not have to defend a title. Watch how freeing it feels to just simply look at each other with love. If you're living love in a divided world, then you need no courage to meet difference with grace because you are being love, and perfect love drives out fears. It's easy to love people who agree with you. It's even easier when you release the labels within yourself to love the people who don't. To be truly loving is to love those who oppose your beliefs. And when you meet anger with understanding, you heal the collective wound. But understand also that sometimes the most loving thing you can do is be the consequence. If they're meeting you with anger and they're harming another, then don't let them do that in your experience. So how do you speak from love instead of ideology? Before responding to anyone, exhale. Shut off the fear response first. Offense and defense are both fear based reactions. And if you shut off the fear based response first, then you can simply listen. And then as you listen, you'll start to understand what their fears are. And then you can speak the word from your present moment. And words spoken in presence are transformative. Words spoken in defense create distance. You know, compassion is activism. Every act of kindness is a rebellion against division. You can change the world not through argument, but through example. Be the bright spot so people make choices around you by your example. Let your peace be your protest. The ripple effect of this is just unconditional acceptance. The more you unconditionally accept and love, the more people will unconditionally accept and love you. When people feel seen beyond their labels, they soften. Every conversation becomes a chance to demonstrate unity. And the, and the sacred humor of all is God doesn't take sides. God laughs through all of them. When you can laugh with the universe, not at it, you've stepped into true faith. My friend, the world is shifting into a more beautiful world. People are becoming more loving. The people who are mired in the labels and the definitions and the fears are the ones who are loud and doing harmful, fearful things. And this global awakening that's happening is beyond religions. Millions are realizing they don't need middlemen to access divinity, and connection is replacing conversion. This is not rebellion, it's evolution. We're evolving into a more loving world, and people are having direct experiences. They're using meditation and contemplations and service and replacing creeds and hierarchies, and they're finding their path back to themselves. One of my regressions, Yeshua said, when you seek a path is laid before you. But until you turn the path back to yourself, you never find the doorway. Humanity is remembering that spiritual authority is inner, not external. And the internet connected us physically so consciousness could connect us spiritually. We are connecting to people all over the world. Last year, I spoke to more countries than I could have ever visited in a year. And I have found people of beauty in every country that I spoke to. The next age will not be new or old. It'll be now. It'll be this present moment. We will create a new present moment. And this movement can't be stopped because everyone's finding it. You can't suppress people who are broadening their awareness into a loving world. It's self-propagating because everyone wants to be loved. Everyone's trying to find love and be love. Everyone wants that experience. And once love is remembered that it's always there, it just keeps expanding. The collective consciousness is rediscovering the simplicity of living as one mind and one heart. Your role in this unfolding is living without labels. You can become a mirror for those still trapped in them. Presence itself becomes your teaching. My friends, love has no doctrine, no membership, and no flag. It doesn't care what book you read, what ritual you follow, or what you call it. Love is what remains when everything else falls away. It is the truth beneath every tradition, the heartbeat beneath every human story. To live beyond labels is to live as love itself, unfiltered, untamed, and infinite. And you can live that moment in every moment of your day. It doesn't matter whether you're Christian, Buddhist, Republican, Democrat, doesn't matter. Drop the labels and understand the person across from you is a representation of love itself. And if they're vitriolic, if they're angry, that's because they're in fear. All negative emotions come from fear, and all positive emotions come from love. Meet them with the love so they can release the fear. And next thing you know, we have the world we all want. And that's my thought on this. You guys have a great day, and I'll talk to you soon. See ya.